brace for impact, I thought we were going to plow into, something.
Right.
And then we couldn't get out of the plane because, I didn't know if we were underwater or not, but the water was coming in, and I thought we were just going to drown, because I couldn't get out. So I didn't even think I was safe until I was on the Marine One, the little fireboat. That's when I realized.
That's not even good. I'm okay.
My boss was sitting next to me. Yeah. He was trying to keep me calm. Yeah, but I was just like freaking out. Yeah. And I couldn't imagine going through that without somebody.
Yeah. For the people that were there without anybody.
I can't even imagine doing that.
Yeah. How do you live your life differently now?
I appreciate all the, I don't sweat the small stuff, but I appreciate every little thing. The first year it was like, the first, spring, I took a chair and just sat in my backyard, and I just started crying because I was just looking around, looking at the flowers and listening to the birds sing.
Yes.
The first snowfall, the first autumn, my first birthday, everything was a first again, because you just look at life through a whole new set of eyes, and you just, slow down a little bit.
Right.
Like before in the grocery store line, I'd get aggravated with the woman that lived in the last checkbook. I'm like, really? You can go? Now I'm just like, take your time. That's good. So I just slow down and just, every day's a gift.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. That's amazing. So nice to meet you, Beverly.
Am I not loud enough?
No, I'm just asking you if you. Okay. I'm just making sure.
Yep. Does anybody have any
Where
questions?
were you sitting?
21E. I was in the 5 rows from the back of the plane. I was in the middle seat.
Is 21E all the way back?
It's 5 rows from the back.
Were you by the windows?
I was in the middle seat.
Oh.
So when I came out, I went to the back of the plane because that was my closest exit. Now, in the water landing, don't go to the back of the plane. I learned that. That was my lesson learned. So they started telling us to go to the front. So, we're walking in water. I don't have anything. I've left everything on the plane. I took my glasses off there in the back of the pocket of the seat. I just want it out of there. It's dark, the water's there, and I think we're just going to drown. This plane is underwater, it's dark. And I went out on the other side of the plane. So I stood on that wing, and I was one of the last group of people to get out on that wing, so I was pretty close to the doorway. But even when I was standing on that wing, I did not realize I was standing on a wing. I was just, standing there, and I just remember just thinking, I was freezing, of course, and shaking, and I just said that, if I fall, I'm a good swimmer, not even realizing how cold it was and hypothermia. But the water before I got rescued was over my knees, and it was cold that day, soaking wet. The helicopter's hovering over us, and we're getting cold, misty water blowing on us. And lucky for me, I got rescued I didn't have to climb up one of those heavy big ferry boat mesh ladders. I was rescued by the firemen of New York City. And the guy said, Tom Sullivan, he took me first, and he said, throw your seat cushion down and hold your arms up. I'm going to pull you up. And he said, I just threw that cushion down and I put my arms up. He pulled me up, and I was the first person to get rescued on that boat. And I remember just not even trying to get into the boat. I just wanted a place to stand safely. And I went to the windshield of the boat, and I found a little lip there to hold on to. And I remember just standing there, just shaking and holding on to that little lip. And that's when I knew I think, okay, I'm okay. I could cry now. And this is when I'm just going to let it go, because I was just, inside I was freaking out, but I was in shock. And I looked through the windshield, and John Rizzo's driving the boat. And he's this big, handsome Italian fireman, and he's got a toboggan on. And
That you remember.
Oh, yeah. Tom Sullivan and John Rizzo, I will never forget. I just saw them in January.
Right.
And John Rizzo looked at me, and he could tell I was just getting ready to lose it. And he looks at me, and he just puts he goes, "You're okay, you're okay." And I will never forget that, him give that, his face and that smile and tell me that I'm okay. So then I got taken to the Chelsea Pier. So I was lucky I got to go to New York and not New Jersey.
When you were coming in and the plane hit, was it pretty rough, or was it?
Well, we were in the back of the plane, so we hit first. So it was all. I tell people I liken it to a car crash. I mean, it was a thud, and then we got sort of thrust forward.
Slowing down.
Violent, I wouldn't call it violent, but it would be more just like being in a car accident, apart from the thud. Coming down, it was relatively smooth. It wasn't like we were just bobbing up and down. Sullenberger knew what he was doing, so.
Because he wanted the tail end first.
Yeah. So those people up front, they went through nothing. Nothing. They was just, they didn't get wet. They were like, oh, just get me on the raft and I'm good. But yeah, it was just, and I didn't even know we landed in water until we actually hit, and then the water came in immediately because there was a gash right behind my seat in the next row in 22. The water came in just like that.
Do you keep in touch with other passengers?
We do. We get together. We're on Facebook. Every January 15th, we're doing something. It may not be as big as it was in the first year or the 5th year. 10 years is going to be a blowout, I know. But we did get together in New York. Some of us got together in New York. Some got together in Charlotte. That's where the biggest pockets of passengers are. And while I was there, my 2 firemen came. I took a girlfriend with me so she could meet some of the passengers, and Sullenberger called us, and we got to go on speaker with him and tell him, he was telling us all he was thinking about us that day. And he couldn't be with us because he was giving a speech somewhere, but
And what is he doing now?
He's just doing the speeches and safety. He's on the safety board, but he's not a pilot. He's not flying.
He's also a commentator for CBS.
Yeah.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. So whenever there's plane-related stuff, he's giving commentary to them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
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 Good profession for him.
Yeah.
Right.
And Patrick Harton, the
Air traffic
he was in
controller.
New York, so I got to see him. Yeah, so he was there. And everybody's just so nice and polite, and we just all became one big family that day. It's just, it's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Hard to fly. First time.
Yes. Well, as I was stepping out onto the wing, I said, I'm never flying again. And lucky for me, I was with my boss. He was sitting right next to me. I wasn't with a bunch of strangers. But as I did, I was getting ready to step out, and I said, I'm never flying again. And that was in January. In November, Oprah Winfrey had a show about first responders, and she was going to have our first responders there. She was going to have Captain Sullenberger there, Jeff Skiles, my firemen were going to be there, and I said, I cannot miss this opportunity because I hadn't gotten to see everybody as a group like that before. So I called my doctor. I said, you got to help me out here. You got to help me out here. So she did, and I'm able to get on a plane now. But for the longest time, and I have flown, I fly, but I hate it, obviously. But for the longest time, before I would get on a plane, as I'm boarding, I would go into the cockpit and want to meet the pilot. I want to know who's flying my plane, I want to see somebody with your color hair, your kind of hair. Yeah. Somebody that looks experienced. So if I see a little young buck behind the no.
Can you talk about the emotions you felt when the pilot said we're braced for
Well, the
landing?
emotions were, that day I thought I was going to die 3 different times. The first was when the geese hit, and they took out both engines. I don't know if everybody knows that, but they took out both engines. And it was with the loudest boom or bang I had ever heard. And I just knew immediately we're gonna blow up. I just thought it was terrorism, or I didn't know what it was. I was in the back of the plane. I never once looked out the window. As soon as those geese hit those engines, and I heard that boom, I went into panic mode, and my heart just was doing this. And my boss is sitting next to me at the window, and he's telling me it's okay. And he took my hand. He goes, "It's okay. It's okay." Nobody was saying anything. Nobody was yelling. Nobody was crying. The flight attendants didn't tell us anything. So we had to wait until they made that announcement. But before that announcement came, I heard somebody say fire. So just imagine what you don't want to be in the sky and hear fire. Mm-hmm. So I just thought we were just going to go into a big ball of fire. And I'm thinking, okay. You start thinking about, this is it. This is it. You start thinking about, and I'm lucky to still have my parents, and I'm thinking about my husband and my parents and my family, and they're going to get a phone call today. This is it. And then when he said brace for impact, and that's when the flight attendants started telling their instructions, telling us what to do. When he said brace for impact, of course, I didn't know what that meant, and so they told us what to do. And I thought, okay, we're going to plow into Midtown Manhattan. I had no idea which direction we were, what we were over. I didn't know we were over water. I just thought, he says brace for impact, we're plowing into something. And it seemed like forever before we hit that water. So you're just waiting, and those 2 minutes felt like, 2 hours. It was just forever. And then when we finally hit, and I just took my seatbelt off and I went to the back of the plane. The water's coming in. I'm freezing cold. It's dark. The door won't open. We're trapped. And I thought, well, I'm going to drown. I'm going to drown. And she said, people were saying, turn around, go toward the front. So I went out towards the front, and I went out through those doors on the other side, stood on the wing there. Even then, I didn't think I was safe. And I'm just thinking, what's going to happen? You smell the jet fuel. You don't know. You've seen, when you watch the movies, what happens?
Right.
That always happens. So I'm thinking, that's going to happen. And then I started seeing the ferry show up. And if you watch the video, it's just amazing. It's not one miracle that day. There were many miracles that day. But when you watch those videos, you see that plane just landing there, nothing in its way. Then you start seeing these ferries show up and the fireboats coming. And we look like little ants coming out on the wings, just like, and it's like they said it's almost like we practiced it. I mean, it was just like a perfect, evacuation plan. That's okay.
What was the time period between you landing and being rescued?
For me, I don't know how long it was. I know that the first ferry showed up within, I believe, 4 minutes. But me personally getting pulled, I don't know how much time there was. I didn't get on the ferry. The ferry was on the other side first, and then I remember the other one coming on our side and almost smashing into the people that were in the raft there on the other side, because he was trying to turn that big ferry to get as close as he could, and he was touching the raft and it was smashing him into the plane. There's people in the water, so you just have to be very, that's not a rescue boat. They did the best they could. So again, lucky for me, that little Marine One boat, was able to get tucked into between the wing and the plane pretty close. So, yeah.
How do you feel when you see the plane here?
I gotta tell you, the first time I walked in and saw this plane, I just started crying. I mean, I just started crying. It was very emotional. Now I just walk in, I just can't believe how big it is for one thing, but I love that plane. I just love that plane. And going inside, we got to go inside. I got to sit in my seat. I've been in it a couple times, and my parents, they got to sit in my seat. It was very emotional for them, of course. But it was very fun the first time all the passengers got to go in there as a group, because it was like, oh, that's where you were sitting. I mean, you know seat numbers, but to actually see people in their seats, you're like, gosh, we were so close together. And they're passing the little party chalice around, and we're woohoo! We're just having a good time. It was just, that was awesome, I gotta tell you. But I love this plane. Yes, sir.
Do you advise people to listen when the stewardess is there giving instructions at the beginning?
Absolutely, yes. Because you see every day, anytime people just doing their own little thing, especially for the people sitting next to the doors. I mean, you really, I know that some of those guys are going, oh man, I got to read these instructions, I've got to figure this out. But push comes to shove, you're in that situation, and boom, bam, you know what to do. Yeah. But definitely pay attention to what they're saying, yes.
So do you wake up people that are not watching?
No, I'm not that, no. I know that I'm going to be prepared. Yes?
Did you get your stuff back?
That's a good question. Several months later, they sent our stuff in big boxes, the stuff that they could identify, and everything, well, not everything, a lot of my belongings came back, and everything was wrapped in paper and tagged. And I gotta say, that was emotional, because I saw all this stuff coming back, and actually some of the stuff I still wear, some of them have a belt and some of the stuff, and but some of the stuff I did not get back, and I don't really care. But it was funny. the things that they couldn't identify, they put it on a website, so you could go on there and you'll see if you could find. Like my glasses were left on the plane, so I went through the website and I was like, oh, there's my glasses and there's my coat and those are mine. And then I saw some very interesting belongings on there. I'm like, I don't think I'd be too embarrassed to say that. I don't think I'd tell people that was mine. But yeah, so some of the things I got back that weren't, you know, that were left behind on the plane. And, you know, I keep them. And some of the stuff I didn't keep. And yeah, but I still have my suitcase and. You know, like some of the stuff is just there for keepsake. And actually some of my belongings are in the case over there. I've got the boots that I had on that day, my purse, my gloves, are all in that case over there. Yeah. Any other questions?
Congrats.
Happy to be here.
Hey, folks, if you want a small experience of that, this is a hypothermia penny challenge. You want to see how hard it is between reaching in a penny, between a room temperature water versus ice cold water. Anyone? Feel free to come up. This is nothing.